everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Victoria Real Estate Stats Update for September 2019. I'd like to show you what's happened this past month. Let's get started. So actually, first of all, let's start with the website homevictoria.com. If you click on Market Update, it'll take you to the Real Estate Board document, the news release that came out. And 28-page document here that I've kind of summarized, taken some highlights from, and we'll kind of walk through together. So we've got some monthly comparative activities by property type. This is for the whole real estate board, so the whole Victoria Real Estate Board. So we've got the units listed here. We have virtually no change from the same month last year. And in terms of units sold, we've increased by 16% since September of last year. Our sell to list ratio, meaning how many sell versus how many are listed, 53% this year, and it was 46% last year. So your odds are better this year of selling. And sales dollars have come up to 408 versus 373 million, which is a 10% increase. So that's absolute values of sales numbers. The average price per unit has gone down by 5%. Okay, so that's interesting. Our price ratio, meaning what percentage of asking price are the consumers paying? 98% this year in September and 97% last year. Days to sell, that's a 1% decrease. The Real Estate Board report kind of missed a line here, but the days to sell, 49, are virtually identical to last year. Active listings at month end have increased by 7%. Okay, so that's available on that report that I showed you the link to. And here's the highlights that they've chosen to kind of point out. First of all, that 16% increase in sales numbers since last 2018. So the sales of condos were interesting though, because look at this. Condos were up 48% from last September. And the sales of single family homes decreased by 1% since last year in September. So that's pretty interesting. So the demand for condos has obviously gone up, and probably because of affordability. The single family HPI indicator in September of this last year was 878. It's 846 this year. So that's a decrease of almost 4%. And it's also down from August. August, we were sitting at 847. And then as far as condos go, this is interesting. It's the reverse of what I would have expected, but I think it tells us that it has to be appropriately priced to get the sale, because last September we were at 503 and now we've gone up to 511, and it's lower than it was in August. So it's had to come down. It's eased off a bit since August, even though the numbers are up, the sales numbers. So it has to be priced appropriately for it to move. And once it gets down into that price range, the buyers want it. It probably has to do with the mortgage rule changes and that settling through the market. So here's the benchmark performance price over time, all three types of properties. So the red is single family dwelling, the blue is townhouse, and the orange is condos. So what we see here is that the single family dwelling, slight increase in price, the HPI for town, slight decrease, condo, slight decrease. But we also seem to be somewhat leveling out to some extent here rather than on the incline. Our sale to active listing ratio is basically, what are we at? 30, almost 30%, 27% or so for this month. And that would compare, this would be the equivalent of being above the 20%, where it's still technically a seller's market. And below 14%, it's a buyer's market. And in between 14 and 20, there's little pressure on prices, being a balanced market. So there can be, I've seen sale to listing ratios getting up there though, close to 80% or so. And so from 20 to 80 is quite a bit different type of seller's market. So it's sort of a soft seller's market, I would say. Oh, what happened here? I just scrolled to the very bottom somehow. Let me just go back up here. So what have we got then after this page? We've got our stats here that I've created from the information. So units listed, 2019 is the blue. We've got more units listed. We're actually tied with 2018. You can't really see, but the green is behind here. and then we got 17, 16, 15. So we are basically above in terms of units listed where we've been for those years. Units sold over here, we sold more in 17, we sold more in 2015 and 16 for this particular month, but we sold less in 18. So that's kind of interesting. Active listings at month end, here we are here. And so the only other year that we had more active listings in September at month end was in 2015. And our average sale price per unit has actually come down. Look at that. So we're sitting there now with 2018 it was higher, 2017 slightly higher, and so it's easing up a bit. Oh boy, sorry, I don't know why it's doing that. I must have a mouse setting on here that I don't really realize I have. I'm using my other computer right now because the one I was using is uploading a bunch of files, so bear with me. Average days to sell, here we are, and so we were taking longer to sell in 15. And we are on target, same kind of time frame for 18 and also 16, but we were faster in 17, and that's because it was a deep seller's market at that point. Single family dwelling months of inventory, here we are. So we have approximately 4 months of inventory of single family dwellings right now. 2018 we had slightly more, and these other years we had less. Like at this point, we just had about 1.5, 1.7 or something of months of inventory in 15. So quite a bit different time. And then if we look at condo months of inventory, we've got situation where we are above where we were, well, we're tied with last year. And we're above where we were in 15. And we're certainly above 17 and also 16. So that's showing a little bit more strength. We don't have, just a month's worth. We have at least 2.7. We've been better though. We've had 1.4 months. That's good for the buyer, not as good for the seller. Although if you're buying and selling in the same market, it makes a pretty tight market for a seller. And then townhomes, here we are here. And we had more inventory slightly in 18, on target with about 15. But look at these years where it was pretty scarce. 17 and 16, we had much less inventory of townhomes. Now for Oak Bay, single family dwellings, we've got, we had 64 homes listed for sale, slightly up from the 56 we had in August, but we sold 9 of them. We've got 44 active and about almost 5 months worth of inventory in that particular neighborhood, and a sale ratio of 14%. Average list price at almost 2.1. Average sale price though at 1.5. So pretty big difference there. Average assessed value 1.8. So we're seeing on average, we're selling below. Average days on market 58. Average sale price to list price 97%. So what people are getting versus what they're asking. And look at this, average list price to assessed is at 132%. So in other words, people are listing at 32% higher than their assessed value on average. Yet when you look at average price of sale price to assessed value, they're actually selling at 95% of assessed value. So people are really overstating their asking prices. And we see that here as well. Average list price per square foot, they're asking $689 a square, but they're actually selling on average at $533 a square. So, it pays to know about this stuff, especially when you're selling, so you don't get too eager and basically ask for too much, which doesn't help you in the end. Now, this is the same kind of numbers, but for Fairfield. Okay, so the last one we did was South Oak Bay. This is Fairfield. So we've got 44 homes listed for sale, homes sold 5. And we had 28 of them at the end of the month. Both these months, we've got over 5 months worth of inventory. Last month, we had just 4 and a sale ratio of 11. So that's meaning for every 1 house that sells, 9 don't in a given month. The average list price at 1.5, the average sale price at 1.1, and assessed at 1.3. So a similar trend to what we saw in Oak Bay. People are asking a lot more than what they're actually getting. And this is why so few of them are selling. Average days on market, 68 days. average sale price to list price. They're getting what they ask. So in other words, if you ask a fair price, you'll get it. But if you're a couple hundred grand above, or in this case, 300 and odd, 300 and some odd grand above, then not so much. Oh, so sorry, guys. This is annoying. Okay, so average list price to assess value is at 111, and average sale price to assess is at 95. So again, it's not as extreme as the 1.32 we saw in Oak Bay, but still overestimating where the market is really, because we're really selling on average at 95% of assessed value, but people are asking 111% of assessed value on average. Price per square foot that they're listing at is 601, but they're actually getting on average 558. And then here are some trends again, just to repeat. These are the, really this mouse is something else. Single family dwellings, historic average prices for December, 900,000. That was of last year. Condos around 475, and towns just over 600. So I'm sorry for the mix up with the mouse here. I've got one computer running files. I've got another computer that I tried to run this video on earlier and it crashed halfway through. Video was really good too. It was probably better than this one. I didn't have it scrolling all over the place. And so my apologies. I'll try to sort out the computer a bit better next month. Now let's just take a look here. If you want to sign up for this newsletter, you can go to the bottom of a homevictoria.com page, e-newsletter sign up, and I'll add you to the list. And so thanks for tuning in, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Now, if I can turn this video off, that would be great.